The following video contains miniatures being painted that are not from a board game. Painter discretion is advised.
Hey miniature painting fans, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob the Miniature Painter here, and yes, I know this is not a board game, but I had to do this because I started recently playing Age of Sigmar's Spearhead, and the Nighthaunts really caught my eye, and I was like, everybody does something different with these armies, and I was like, what could I do? And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back to when I was a kid playing arcades, and what game has ghosts? Pac-Man. And that made me realize there are 4 colors to the ghosts in Pac-Man, and I decided, well, I got some air paints, I got some speed paints, let's put them to the test and see which one will give me the best bang for my buck and give me the best looking ghosts that are based on the Pac-Man ghost. That's right, so we started off with some Incursion Orange on the first one. Now we're using some Phantasmal Blue, which I love the Phantasmal. So far, I have to say right off the bat, the air paints are working a little bit better for me than the speed paints will, and you're going to see why later on. Now, at first it's going to be just the spectral parts of these ghosts, and then we're going to move on to actually painting the rest of them. Yes, I'm going to follow a little bit what everyone else does for painting it, but I also change them up a little bit, and you're going to see what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to show you guys what I did for the bases. Now, I already prepped the bases beforehand with a little bit of, I think it's some Vallejo's crackle paint. It's very thick, or no, it's very thin actually, but when it crackles, it like just, anyways, huge stuff. Now we're moving on to the speed paints here, and again, what you're gonna see is that the Zenithal highlight I did is gonna actually come through quite a bit, and a lot of the speed paints are a little too dark, I find, on these minis or on these ghosts, except for where the white is really strong. And we're starting off with a little bit of Fire Giant Orange, so that's going to compare it to the Incursion Orange from the air paints. I found, like, what I did is I looked at the colors to see which ones were very similar and which ones would give out the closest to the original colors too, and I think I hit it pretty spot on. So if you're watching this, it's October, you want to paint some spooky miniatures because Halloween's coming up, well, I found that these Nighthaunts were fun to do. You can grab yourself a box, paint them up, display them for Halloween. I mean, you could put them out on a table if you're having a party or whatever. I think it would be kind of neat. And okay, so the pastel seafoam here was a color that was recommended by another YouTuber called Tabletop Minions, and he said if you want to get all your ghosts done really quick, use the pastel seafoam, dry brush some white over it, and you're done. Yeah, you could dry brush the white over it, but having the Zenithal kind of does already that for you, and the pastel seafoam is pretty nice. But again, I think the air paints just go on a little bit nicer and have a little bit more finishing touches to it, kind of thing. But anyway, so I'm still trying to figure out, okay, so if I have another unit of Nighthaunts, which I have, by the way, a ton of Nighthaunts now, I decided to go into that and create an army for Age of Sigmar, because I'd like to actually try and play this game and actually kind of be good at a tabletop game for once. I find I have a hard time getting into tabletop games, just like a Song of Ice and Fire. Got into it, and then I realized I don't have that tactical ability to figure out what my opponent's going to do, react to what my opponent did. But in this one too, I have a hard time, but it's a little bit more fun, this one. There's lots of variety of miniatures. You can change up your army very quickly, you know, and have fun with it. As you can see now, I'm using Poppy Red here. It's a little bit like, whoa, in your face red. And again, I am doing the arms and the faces as well. I'm making it that like the whole ghost is underneath the shroud, and making it show like, you know, these are all the colors. Like, I might not do that for the future ones. It might just be the spectral parts, like the little, the ghostly vapors that are the colors. But anyways, now we're done with the air versus speed. As you could tell, I liked more the air versions. Now we're just going to finish off the miniatures, and sorry about that, but the Tyrian Navy is what I used for the cloak. Somehow I hit record before and then stopped it while I was recording it. Anyways, I seem to do this often, but I'm going to try and get the rest of the miniature here for you. You see what I used the Tyrian Navy on though, and you can see that it comes through a little bit. I should have put a little bit of medium in it just so that the zenithal would show a bit more, but it does an okay job. Talos Bronze now was for the scythe and that metal thing around his head, and now using some polished silver for all the chainmail on these guys. Now I'm just showing you guys one of the miniatures, and this is the one that was airbrushed with the incursion orange. You can see it really comes out good because it's kind of yellow, but if you go back over the other spots, it gets darker, so it really does a nice flame look to it. And now we're actually going to be working on the base, and what I'm going to do now, there's skulls on some of them. Some of them have skulls that came separate. I added some skulls, and you can see the crackle paint, what it did on the bottom part. And what I did is I actually put some spots have some light cork board and so on and so forth. For the cracks, I want it to be like there was like a sort of like, you know, something coming out of the ground. And a lot of people would have said, well, use Tesseract Glow, it's amazing for that. But I ended up using the Disgusting Slime because it was more vibrant. And then what I do is I take some AK's Wargaming terrain here, Shadow Soil, and put that on top of all those cracked areas, and I do that on all the miniatures. So here's the side-by-side of the speed paint versus the air paint. Which ones do you think came out better? I frankly think the air paints one did, except for the Princess Pink here. I think the Princess Pink came out really nicely. The Zenithal does a good job. Anyways, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this spooky video. I want to thank you guys all for watching, and we'll see you all in the next one.